Well, with the growing uncertainty in the economy, consumer confidence across Canada is low. It's being felt in many sectors, and one of them is the restaurant industry. It has warned before of rising costs and uneven customer demand. And a new report released today suggests that it has now reached dire levels. The CBC's business reporter, Angie Seth, has more on this. Okay, so what are some of the main takeaways of this report here?
Yeah, so this is their quarterly report from Restaurants Canada, and they had about 300 or so respondents. So a small group of very large representation here, but it does sort of paint a picture in terms of what we are seeing within the industry right now, and sort of the hit hard. We talk about sort of the impact of COVID in 2019. Well, they're still feeling that impact, and what we're seeing is in this type of economy, a K economy, where in terms of you have sort of on the one end you've got the higher income making more money, the lower income not making as much money. That's spilling out in terms of what we're seeing in the restaurant sector. You're seeing visuals right now, sort of what we call our quick service restaurants, and then there's the higher end restaurants. Interestingly enough, based on some of the numbers, the higher end restaurants seem to be doing a little bit better. Comparison. Overall, the industry is not. So we're sort of going to break down some of those numbers, and that's in terms of the economic struggles that they've been seeing and sort of the impact, the overall impact over the last few years. Take a listen here to Kelly Higginson. She's the CEO and president of Restaurants Canada.
56% are reducing employee hours, 53% are reducing shifts entirely. So as the fourth largest private sector employer in the country, we employ 1.2 million people across the country, 40% of which are youth. You're going to see a direct impact on employment numbers.
So a massive amount in terms of how many people they employ, but looking at breaking it down a little bit more, Arthi, in terms of the impact within the industry there. So the real commercial food service is expected to decline about 0.2% in 2026. They had a bit of an increase in 2025, but they're seeing some of that decline. And we break it down further. 49% of operators are reporting lower sales in 2026 already. 54% are reporting fewer guests that are coming in. 71 report a declining profitability, which is obviously a big concern, as you can see there. Now, when we make the comparison between quick service and full service restaurants are hit the hardest at 81% decline profitability. That 70% hit full service. So they're still seeing a decline on both sides, but full service is still doing better. 36% of operators are operating at a loss or breaking even. That is triple levels of 2019. So as we've been sort of pushing to say, okay, are we seeing more people coming back and whatnot? We are, but the numbers are showing a different scenario in terms of what those numbers actually mean, and we're nowhere near what we're seeing in 2019 right now.
And of course, part of that too is the fact that prices on menus are going up and may even go up further as we continue to watch the situation in the Middle East and the trickle-down effect or ripple effect from all of that. Let's also talk about what the industry suggests need to be done to change, to recover.
Well, I mean, and there's a lot of factors in here. You talked about sort of the cost of things. Food costs, are up for them. Labor, of course, is an issue there in terms of keeping people employed. 69% are reporting customers dining out less due to those affordability constraints. So Restaurants Canada is basically saying, you know what, there needs to be a step up. When we look at the number of visits we've had within the industry, 123 million visits daily to restaurants, $125 billion of annual sales. That equates to about 3.9% of GDP. So what they're saying, one thing they would like to see happen from the government, they're sort of pushing for, what we saw last year, is removal of the GST on prepared foods. Take a listen further to Kelly Higginson.
Last year, when the government removed GST from all food, and we had an almost 10% increase in sales, we had an incredible amount of job creation within our sector. 24,000 jobs were created in the slowest 2 months of the year, as being January and February.
So overall, they're saying sort of there needs to be that focus, there needs to be that support coming from the government. We'll see sort of what happens there. But they're also talking about what they're seeing in the energy sector as well. And you've reported on this, enabling accelerated capital cost allowance to the food industry. So allowing them to get access to funds so they can look at growth. They can look at what their operational needs are. They can look at in terms of that expansion. We don't notice it, but a lot of restaurants have closed down. And then again, they're not as busy as perhaps we would like to see. Interestingly enough, again, not in those fast food restaurants as we would see in those sit-down restaurants. But overall, the industry is saying, you know what, it's going to take a lot for us to get back to that 2019 levels. We're going to be speaking to an economist a little bit later and bring more of that to you in terms of what they see as the bigger picture and what more needs to be done.
Okay, Angie, thank you for this. That is CBC's business reporter, Angie Seth.